All right, we're back. Another episode of the Double Bill Podcast. Michael Smith here, along with Jacob Deering. Just Jacob and myself today. Getting back to the OGs,
OG crew, baby,
of the podcast. Justin Keller is not here, but hopefully another episode he'll be with us. So today we're going to be talking about biopics. With the upcoming Elvis coming out, I think that's a good theme for the week. The Elvis Presley biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann starring Austin Butler's Elvis is coming out this Thursday. I'm hearing decent things. I'm hearing okay things. I haven't heard great things. But if there's anything I know about Baz Luhrmann is that it's going to be a lot of style. It's going to be a lot of style. So I'm excited. I think his last movie was Great Gatsby. I could be wrong. I know he's done TV shows in between, but
yeah, I think
Great Gatsby.
I know that it's definitely been a minute since his last film that he did, because I checked it out a little bit ago. Yeah, it was Great Gatsby.
Yeah, so almost 10 years. Wow. That's kind of crazy with the year we've had. Sam Raimi coming back after almost 10 years and Baz Luhrmann coming back after almost 10 years. So I think whether the movie is good or not, I think it's good to see, and I'd consider him this. I think it's good to see an auteur back at it. Baz Luhrmann is a very important director of our time. And he's very big on style. Very big, very, very big.
Romeo Juliet, and then you have, like you said, Great Gatsby and Moulin Rouge, Elvis. I mean, I feel like that man is the epitome of style whenever it comes to making films.
Yeah, like he almost like single-handedly revived 3D with Great Gatsby. It's like, really, with Great Gatsby? Like, I think that was honestly, like, I could be wrong because I don't watch many 3D movies, but that was probably like the last great 3D movie where people actually cared about 3D being a part of the storytelling rather than a money grab, a cash grab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. I hardly see 3D. Usually whenever I see 3D is if I can only make it to a 3D showing, to be real with you. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember too much about Great Gatsby and sort of what it did for 3D, to be honest with you. But I mean, with that cinematography and Luhrmann's style, it definitely makes sense that it would make for a great 3D movie, man. Especially that opening party scene whenever you got Tobey Maguire just walking through trying to find Leonardo DiCaprio and everything's flying out at him. It's such a
pretty film. It's a pretty film.
It reminds me of that like one sequence. I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's this one old movie. It came out in I believe either the 40s or the 50s, and you see like this entire ballroom party and the camera's going through different tables that are all like perfectly lined up.
Yeah.
And you see just sort of the action unfold and move away from the camera as it's going in. If I can try to find the movie, I'll send it to you. But I don't know. I've always really liked it whenever directors make the background as diegetic and prominent as what's in the foreground with your subjects. It's something that's always, it gives it energy, and it's really cool.
It's sexy. Like Great Gatsby is a very beautiful film.
Oh yeah, man.
It was a great use of 3D because it was really you're absolutely right. It's like it's about everything in the background and everything in the foreground. It's like it all kind of comes together and gives it that beautiful depth of field, not just the dull depth of field, a beautiful one. So for anyone that hasn't seen Great Gatsby, unfortunately, if you don't have a 3D TV, you can't check that out in 3D, but it's still great not in 3D. I think I saw it twice in theaters, once in 3D, once in 2D. And I was a huge fan of it. But we're not here to talk about Great Gatsby. We're here to talk about biopics. I think for me, and before I open it up to the first question, is like, I think for me, and we'll see if you disagree, I think there's two different types of biopics, and there could be more, but two that are very prominent in Hollywood. There's the musical biopic, and then there's the historical biopic. The musical kind of reaching exactly what Elvis is, reaching back into time with this timeless music that these artists created back in the day or even recently. And then there's a historical biopics such as what Spielberg has been doing or what Scorsese will do, or a lot of what the greats will do. um, do you agree with that statement, or do you think is there more biopics out there that are prominent that I'm missing, or is that, to me,
Yeah,
that's
I
the main
mean,
two?
uh, I feel like those make two good generalizations with biopics. I mean, I still think that each of them respectively split in between, clear studio biopics versus, auteur biopics with, the director actually having something to say versus, something being catered towards a larger audience. And, two name two big name ones that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head is Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody is sort of those. I mean, they're very stylized biopics, but they're still a little formulaic with how the writing is and sort of how everything unfolds. And I think that, that's where I find a large distinction is the biopics that follow a singular formula or biopics that sort of, focus on unraveling a story rather than
Yeah,
explaining the life of whoever the subject is.
yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, because it's like, I think me and you would agree, is like we kind of like the more historical aspect of biopics,
Mm,
especially if we want to go back into recent history. Two of my favorites come down to The Wolf of Wall Street or Lincoln or The Post. Anything like those two have done, Spielberg, Scorsese, is just fantastic. The Aviator, like, or even Dunkirk with Christopher Nolan, like things like that, where they're kind of like unfolding a story that you may not know unless you really know it. But even then, if you do know the story, it's still like amazing to be able to see it on the big screen.
mm-hmm.
I
And
think
also, sorry, you finish?
uh my last point was, I think more of the musical biopics are portraits of a life, and I think a lot of people only connect to those if they were fans of the music.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people were fans of Aretha Franklin. So if you went to go see Respect, you probably didn't like it. Or like myself, you don't know much Elton John. Doesn't mean I'm not a fan, but you don't know Elton John and you go see Rocket Man. It's just like, not a great movie. Or even Bohemian Rhapsody, which I think a lot of people thought wasn't a great movie. But yeah, what were you going to say though?
I mean, yeah, it's just I think that biopics, it's something that's sort of, I don't know. Whenever I was initially getting into film, I was thinking of it as something that's a little bit more restrained because you're telling, factual events about somebody's life. And it's either if you want to make it a little bit more stylistic. I think that a lot of people tend to sort of just stretch the truth or, play around with what actually happened. But you get to films like Lincoln or The Social Network or, Raging Bull, Steve Jobs. I mean, whatever you name it. To where I think that the cool part that comes about that is, they're telling it in a sense of they want to encapsulate what this person or what this event sort of stood for and why it's so important to tell that story.
Yeah.
And
It has a great message behind it, I feel
yeah, and I mean, like you said with Bohemian Rhapsody, Respect, and Rocket Man, those are three movies that sort of they fall within that studio sort of what's it called, just formula. But like you said, I love Elton John and I love Queen, and so those movies, whenever I watched them, it's something that it connected with me because I had an emotional attachment to it. Aretha Franklin, I've listened to a little bit of her music, but she was a little bit before my time.
yeah.
And so like you said, I didn't have that connection. And whenever you're watching something that has sort of a formulaic structure, it's a lot harder to be able to find a bit of yourself within that story. I think that with Respect, the best part of that film was Marlon Wayans and Jennifer Hudson's relationship throughout the film. I think that was the coolest aspect that I'm glad that they had to focus on them.
Yeah.
just to talk about those three.
Yeah, for me, it was like the musical aspect. The one that's really connected to me for the biopics is Straight Outta Compton.
Oh my god, dude! Straight Outta
Yeah,
Compton is leagues above.
that one was just different. I mean, yes, I love the music, but I think that one was one of the rare ones that kind of had like a relevant message relating back to today. And that's another thing that these biopics can do. These musical biopics that are kind of on the weaker side, is that they can be related to a message. It's all about how this story can relate to us today, and some of them just don't. Some of them literally just want to tell this portrait of this person, and that's all, which is fine. But that comes down to, if the audience likes the music or knows the person, it's going to be a great movie to that person. If not, it's not going to be a great movie. But if you can somehow find a way to bend today's world with a portrait of what those people were like Straight Outta Compton, it fits. They blended the racial tension and police brutality and everything going on in our world today and related it to back then. And it was pretty much a message of the same thing of Black Klansmen, that was like, what's going on then is still happening today. And it hasn't changed. And so yeah, that's one of the only, I think that's the only one that I've ever like clicked with. There's not many.
Well, even then, I mean, I think that Straight Outta Compton, it wasn't afraid to sort of not hold back. I think that the way that they sort of depicted, all of NWA throughout the film, there was authenticity to it. Everything about it was, truth, which is what a biopic should be. And, to be able to sort of get to watch their stories and how it affected not only, music as a whole, but culture. I mean, with NWA, they're the reason why we have parental advisory stickers on our music, because of, they created something that felt vulgar to certain parts of America. And they didn't let it stop them. That was something that was always really cool to watch. And that short, and that feature is, getting to see just how prominent that group was for not music, but America as well.
Yeah. And then let's kind of pivot back to the historical aspect of biopics, and we kind of open up into a world that's like, how do you not love these movies? And we can go down the list from recently all the way down to the earliest biopic possible. But I mean, even just last year, no, King Richard is more of a musical. I was thinking on that aspect. I'm like blanking on what came out last year. But
King Richard, Respect. Was there more biopics last year?
Yeah, it was a small year. But let's just get on the line of some of Spielberg's. You got The Post, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln, Munich, Catch Me If You Can. What am I missing? War Horse, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, we could just go on and on with Spielberg. Like,
Saving Private Ryan, that was a biopic.
Was it?
I don't
think so. I think it was based off of someone.
It was based off of
I guess not.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah, I guess it's fictionalized, but
I mean, still. That's how good he is, though, man.
Yeah. And then Scorsese again. I mentioned The Aviator. You got
Aviator, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
I mean, he's done a lot of biopics, but again, man, like he is so good at hiding these behind style and story that it could be entirely fiction, and it's still just as enjoyable, just as authentic.
Oh yeah, and then I'm even excited for Christopher Nolan next year with Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be dope. Social Network, which is considered one of my favorite movies of all time. Ford v Ferrari, that's more blockbuster, but that was still like fantastic, especially in theaters. That was 100% a movie that
So
was
that's another good example of what happens whenever you mix a biopic with another genre
yeah,
is, being able to add that style to the stories. That's what keeps people intrigued. And I mean, even with Ford v Ferrari, um God, the director, his name is
that's what's his name?
James Mangold. Yeah, I knew it was Gold something. James Mangold. His story with whenever he was creating the Wolverine and Logan was sort of just studio interference that he was struggling with,
Yeah,
and he related that into Ford v Ferrari because it's the same situation no matter what industry you're in.
yeah,
People who want to push the limits and people who want to live by the status quo.
yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, and then there's so many genres of biopic that's so out there, and I think it always comes down to the relatability of the story. I mean, if you watch a war biopic, most of the time most Americans are going to relate. If you have a sports biopic, that's going to be hit or miss. If you have a musical biopic, that's going to be hit or miss. um More personal biopics, something smaller, that's usually an independent hit. That's usually going to be knocked out of the park with something that people love. I mean, if you think about Spencer last year, that was pretty critically acclaimed. Or
It
Jackie.
wasn't your thing, but I loved it. I
Yeah,
loved it.
I know. I didn't even watch it because I saw Jackie, and it's just like I'm like, I don't want to.
If that style connects with you, if it does, if it
Yeah,
doesn't, it
exactly.
doesn't.
Like, it either connects you or it doesn't. It's like I don't want to be that person that doesn't give a movie a chance, but it's also one of those things that's like I don't want to be someone that goes and sees it with the mindset of I'm already not gonna like it, and hope to be surprised. That's even worse. But there's so many biopics out there that just any and everybody can connect to. I mean, for sports, I go back to Moneyball, Remember the Titans. I mean, The Blind Side isn't that great in retrospect, but at the time it was fantastic. Um, and then a whole bunch more. I think Rudy was a a sports based on a
Yeah.
true story.
Oh yeah, going back to 2021, Eyes of Tammy Faye, and
Eyes of Tammy Faye. Yeah,
technically Belfast. I mean, it's Kenneth Branagh. It's fiction, but it's real.
yeah. Belfast. Yeah, technically Licorice Pizza. We want to go down that route.
Yeah, man. But I mean, like that's just another example. I mean, you look at one of the most famous quotes from a director, that who was the most personal is the most creative, or vice versa, with Martin Scorsese. Biopics is, whenever you're able to tell an account of a story of a person's life or an event that took place, being able to find something that you as a screenwriter, director, whomever, that you're able to connect with. That's it's translating something that is greater than just itself, but being able to translate that to everybody else to where it becomes more human. And that's the power that biopics have if they're done effectively.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so with that, we're going to take a little quick break. And whenever we come back, we're going to talk about some of our favorite biopics between the two of us. So be right back. All right, we're back. So Jacob, what I think, again, we've had our conversation about kind of like our thoughts about biopics, and to kind of like refresh, I kind of got the sense that we both feel that biopics can be good or bad, just like any genre. But when they're bad, it's really bad. When they're good,
it's amazing.
Yeah. like I don't.
It's literally like some of like the most memorable films of all time. You're like, God damn, they made that.
They're so forgettable. Like it's like you don't think twice about it. You're just like, I just watched that. It's fine. It's over. Like I'm over it. And that's no disrespect to the filmmaker. I just think that sometimes stories like that are just too constrained, and it's tough. It's like, an aspiring filmmaker myself, it's like if someone gave me a biopic to attack, I definitely would pass on musical biopics. I'd love to do a musical one day, but not a biopic. And I'd probably, as much as it'd pain me, unless someone gave me a story like Moneyball, I'd probably pass on a sports biopic. But that's getting way ahead of myself, you know. Dreams and aspirations. Hopefully I can be a director one day. But again, no disrespect to the filmmakers out there. It's just kind of like one of those things. It's like it's hit or miss. But with that, that does not mean that there are not great ones, like we said. So we're going to list off our top 3 favorite biopics, starting with number 3. So Jacob, if you had to choose the number 3 biopic to go to war with, what are you choosing?
Probably start with Zodiac. I mean, I feel Fincher, whenever he does biopics, it's amazing. They're classics, man. I mean, Zodiac and Social Network are 2 films that sort of I think that they're not only staples of his career, but staples of what a biopic can be. And I've always, I think that any 70s sort of romanticization is a guilty pleasure of mine. I like it whenever modern age films sort of go back to the 60s and 70s. And that's one of them. I really, really love Zodiac. I love the whole mystery behind it. There's a noirish sort of grit and edge to it, but that same humanness that Fincher oddly has, you wouldn't expect it from him, but he does.
Yeah. No, I can't. Zodiac, I think I first tried to watch it when I was a little youngin', and I was like figuring out who David Fincher was, and I couldn't get through it. Then I tried to watch it again in high school, still couldn't get through it. I just wasn't into movies like that at that time. But then, like, once I got into movies, probably like senior year or freshman year of college, man, I could watch that movie anytime, dude. That is
Oh my god,
fan.
it's amazing. It's long though. I get it with younger you. It's long.
Yeah, but like the longness doesn't even hit anymore. It's more so just
doesn't, because
like,
you need your palate to mature a little bit. Whenever you're young, it's too much greatness for your mind to be able to comprehend and handle. But once you get older, you see that art.
Oh yeah, I think the best part about the film is like it's one of those things that's like, again, biopics are so different than other things to where it's like it's not something that you necessarily think you can revisit. But Zodiac is like, I'm gonna revisit it and I'm still gonna be shocked by the ending, because it's like there's 3 different people that goes through the odyssey of figuring out who the Zodiac is: Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. And all 3 of them. But there's a 4th detective out there, and that's the audience. Like, you're trying to figure out every little clue to see if David Fincher gives it to us, and it's like, who knows, and then you want to look it up right after. So we already did a podcast over Zodiac, man. We could do another one. Like,
yeah, dude. I mean,
so
even
good.
I remember as I was watching Zodiac, I was googling like, did they find out who the Zodiac killer was? Because that suspense was killing me, man.
Exactly.
Just for me to find out that they didn't officially know, I was like, you're fucking kidding me. Yeah. That's another great point about it. It's like, how do you tell a story about a real life killer who was never discovered? How do you properly tell that story knowing that there's never going to be a true catharsis? And that's where you see that, I think that Fincher sort of changed his angle, is that it's not about the killer, it's about the people.
Yep.
Everybody who was affected by it, their lives were ruined by it, directly or indirect. Along with seeing the brutality of the murders, it created this mystery, with the catharsis being that there will never be any true catharsis for these victims, nor these people and families who were affected by it. And I think that shows the true evils of these serial killers who do what they do and get away with it.
Yeah, fantastic. And then he kind of like repeats Zodiac with Mindhunter a little bit, and it's
so my gosh, dude. I see. I remember it took me so long to get into Mindhunter, and it wasn't until I watched Zodiac and I was like, okay. And then I sit down and I turn on the Netflix and I see Mindhunter #1. I'm like, okay. And I press play on episode 1. And I go, Okay.
Yeah, bro, I was on that show from day one, man, and I'm still so sad that they canceled. Like, it could still come back. It's a show, but like
that opening scene, that
man,
shit is still iconic.
yeah, it's insane. Like, I've watched that show the first season. I watched it once as sober as can be. Watched the second season extremely inebriated every single episode with my cousin because he was like, I want to watch this shit. And then I watched it again just to get ready for season 2, and it's still fantastic. And then season 2 comes out, and you're just like, oh shit, man. Like, they switch it up on you, but then it's still super interesting. Like, it's I don't know, man. Like, it was insane. I love that show. Hopefully they bring it back. So please, Fincher, give us another Mindhunter.
We're praying. Hey, I read somewhere they say down the road he'll come back to it.
We'll have to see. I know he just released an animated show on Netflix. I forget the name of it.
Doesn't Fincher have a movie coming out this year? Or is it next year?
That man has something coming out every year. That's all I know.
He's got The Killer coming out. It's a neo-noir.
Is that with Gary Oldman?
I think I saw his name on there. Hold on. No, with Michael Fassbender, Tilda Swinton.
That's right. That's right. Michael Fass. I don't know why I thought Gary. I know Gary Oldman's Mank. I know he's a Mank, but I thought that they were gonna like go back at it.
Yeah, because I know that he's like a pretty decent hiatus from movies at the very least. After God, what was his most recent movie? Not Mank, but before that,
Gone Girl. That was only like
Girl. Yeah, because that came out 2013.
Either 2013 or 14.
2014. Yeah, and then
like it gap.
Yeah, 5-6 year gap, and then he returns to the Mank, and he said in some article that he's gonna go back to making movies more consistently. So it would be cool to be able to see Fincher return back to the silver screen.
I need to revisit Mank. It was a fun one. Anyways, my number 3.
That's another great biopic on the subject of biopics.
My number 3, I'm gonna have to go with The Post, Steven Spielberg's most recent.
Dude, god damn it! Now I gotta find another one because I want to do the same.
The Post is. I remember whenever I first. So there's a critic that I follow, David Ehrlich, and this type of movie, I just would not have thought that he would love it, but he absolutely loved it, and like glowing recommendations. And this is 2017, and I'm like finally like reading up on film criticism and learning about it. And so the way that he talked about it was like, okay, this sounds like an action film, low key. So then I go watch it, and I kid you not, my heart is pounding the whole way through. Like, in the way that Spielberg directs it is the way that movie is paced is about the same way that the movie was paced while they made it. Cause that's, and the backstory on that film is like, they made that in 8 months. They got all
Spielberg doing another movie at the same time.
Ready Player One. He literally finished Ready Player One and immediately went to The Post. And then it was insane. And the movie kind of like shocked everyone. It was a rookie writer, Liz Hannah. She came out of nowhere with this script, and Spielberg just jumps on it because he's just like, I forget who the producer was, but the producer was just like, look, I don't think there's anyone else that can do this, because they were looking for someone else to direct. And he's like, you're right. So then they get after it, and he gets all these great actors. I mean, if you put Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks in a movie, like, it's an all-star cast already. But then you get Bob Odenkirk, then you get what's it called? You get Michael Stuhlbarg, you get Carrie Coon, you get Tracy Letts, you get there's some smaller names that I'm missing. I keep forgetting, but they've been in a whole bunch of shit. And I mean, Jesse Plemons, you got our guy Zach, forget his last name, but he was in The Office, who played Gabe. It's just
Zach Woods. Zach
Woods.
Oh my god, I forgot about Zach Woods in The Post. Jesus. Yeah, Allison Brie, Bruce Greenwood.
It's insane. It's insane that he got that cast together in such a short time, filmed it and edited and did everything all in 8 months.
I think that while he was filming this, he would film The Post in the day, and then at night he would go to the editing room for Ready Player One. It's either these two films or another film, another set of films that he was working on.
It was more than. So this is the second time he's done that. And he had finished Ready Player One, and then immediately went into filming, because Ready Player One came out in March of 2017 or maybe not. Was that 2017 or 2018? It was
Ready Player
2008.
One. That was 17.
That was
Was it 18?
18.
Oh,
Okay.
where does
Okay.
the time go?
Scratch that. You were right. I thought that was Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. You're absolutely right then. It was
I feel like he did this. I feel like it might have been Schindler's List and Jurassic Park.
well, he did those two in the same year, but um he had to edit and everything for the post, because I think that he had finished filming Ready Player One and then like was editing it and then like jumped into filming and putting together the post, and then whenever the post was done, finished everything for Ready Player One to come out like 5 months later, because I think the post came out in like November. But that's all besides the point. We can look up production some other time, but that film meant a lot to me and still means a lot to me. I think that it was, for that year, I think it was in my top 5, top 10. It is, for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's on the outside, it may look like another boring biopic, but on the inside, this movie has heart, it has passion, it has emotion, it has intensity for a newspaper film. It has a rush, like Mad Max Fury Road type rush. Like, this is insane how good this movie is, in the style that he put forth. Like, this is an action film, no way around it. And I still will revisit this film to this day. It's fantastic. It's absolutely insane.
Absolutely, yeah. I was actually, whenever I was over at Movie Training Company before we started the podcast, and I was looking at the post because I need to get the Blu-ray for it, and I didn't get it, but I was looking at that is one movie I'm probably gonna get off of Amazon.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the post, that was gonna be my number 2, but I want to switch it up, keep it a little diverse on the list. So for my number 2,
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not gonna steal it from you.
Okay.
I'm not gonna steal it from you. You can have
this.
Social Network. I know that's yours.
Okay, that's not what I was going for.
Okay. Okay.
You can have Social Network, although that's one of my favorites. Oh shit.
No. I mean, I didn't say Social Network. My number 2 is First Man.
Okay.
First Man. Yeah, dude. I'm worried to see. I want to see what movie you're talking about now in a second. But First Man, I saw it in IMAX 2018.
Involves that man behind you.
What man behind me? That's terrifying.
Nah, go ahead. It was a joke, but not anymore.
I mean, shit, bro. I used to have the First Man poster right there.
Yeah.
And it fell down. But
I'm getting ready to rewatch First Man, so
yeah, I
you want to
need
come over,
it.
like, definitely.
I need to do a Chazelle triple feature whenever I get the chance.
Yes.
But yeah, no, First Man, it blew me away. I find it odd that it never received the nom for cinematography for the 2019 Oscars. It did get the best visual effects winner, but I don't know, man. I think that movie, it is extremely underrated for 2018 release. I don't think that it really gets talked about enough, especially with it being, Chazelle's follow-up film to La La Land. I think that, I don't know, it's a little disappointing with public reception, because I mean, for First Man, I think that it broke apart sort of a space movie for me, because I mean, you have 2 different types of space movies. You have NASA space movies and you have sci-fi space movies. And NASA ones, I mean, you have Apollo 13, and I'm trying to think of any other big, I think you have Moon with Sam Rockwell, and I can't really think of any other astronaut movie. Say that one more time.
The Right Stuff.
The Right Stuff. I haven't seen it.
Neither have I, but I know that one's more grounded.
But yeah, I mean, you don't really see a lot of grounded space films nowadays, just because you want to see, I think that space movies have become synonymous with a fantasy and also the human potential. So like, whenever you do space movies, you want to go big or you're going home. And I think that with First Man, Damien Chazelle was able to do a little bit of both with this. I think that for showing, the dangers and the emotional trauma of Neil Armstrong as he's preparing to go to the moon and sort of all the events that had to unfold for him to get there. There's a weight behind it. There's a weight behind him reaching the moon and that emotional catharsis. It's something that it feels extremely human as it does depressing. It was the worst date movie of all time, to be honest with you. It was an amazing movie, but holy shit, like it was just tragedy after tragedy in that man's life. It was not as romantic as I thought it'd be. But I mean, whenever they finally get to the moon, in the climax of the film, and you sort of see this restrained point of view, to where it's really close-ups and sort of you're looking at what Neil Armstrong sees. I think that is particularly important for it because it's again, it's relating that humanness to something that is one of the greatest human achievements that mankind has been able to achieve.
Yeah. That movie is fantastic. I need to watch it.
It's so good, man.
I think I've seen the movie 3 times, and the commentary is fantastic. So if you rewatch it, definitely watch the commentary. That ending is one of the most, in retrospect, on my second watch, the first watch of seeing First Man, I'm disappointed in myself because I was disappointed in the film. And I think that it kind of had that effect of like Damien reaches so high with La La Land and Whiplash, and he was on such a run. Every 2 years he had a movie come out. Whiplash, La La Land, First Man. 2014, 2016, 2018.
And now we got 4 years and Babylon's coming out, baby.
And First Man was disappointing for me at the first watch, and because I didn't get it, and that's on me. And on my second watch with a different point of view and a different perspective, I'm at the point where I'd go so boldly and say that's his best fucking movie. That's his best fucking movie.
That's how I feel.
It's like not my favorite.
I like La La Land, but First Man, that's I mean that was I saw Whiplash before I saw First Man, but that was actually the first Damien Chazelle movie that I watched that had me go, okay, this is a Damien Chazelle movie.
Yeah,
I had just started focusing on directors rather than the movies alone.
Yeah,
but
it's insane what he does, like the bold choices that he makes. What he does in La La Land with the camera is bold, but it's a musical. You can make the camera dance. He shoots on widescreen format, 35 millimeter. He jumps into this film, shoots 16 millimeter, and then jumps all the way up to 70 millimeter IMAX with the moon scene.
Dude, once that 70 millimeter IMAX comes in, bro, it blew me away.
It's breathtaking what you witness. You legitimately are on the moon because the boldness of that scene, and that's the essence of that fucking movie. Is like not even Christopher Nolan with Interstellar or anybody that's made a space movie since 2001: A Space Odyssey has chosen to do this. And that's to go for a mostly entire like 15-minute sequence of silence. Nothing. And then the music comes in. He drops his daughter's necklace. No words. A complete silent film. To back on Earth, he's touching the screen with his wife. And it's just this resemblance of letting go and moving on. But as this movie I just recently watched, your memories aren't going anywhere. It was a quote from a movie I just watched. That is so. The First Man.
like we're talking about earlier in the podcast. Whenever a biopic sort of blend genres and styles, First Man, I mean, it was a biopic, but it was also a character study, which you think would go synonymous with each other, but it really doesn't happen all that often. You were strictly following, an emotional, I guess, just
he specifically chose not to portray. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but he specifically chose to portray him as not a hero.
Exactly. And I think that And I think that that's a more heroic thing to do, is to show that he is human. He's not this, larger than life figure going to the moon. It's a man.
Yes.
And I think that right there is an important message that modern day America could take to heart is, hey, your heroes, they're not gods, they're people.
Yes.
And you can do it in a way where you don't have to portray them in a negative light.
God,
it showed it raw and uncensored. And that's something that only, the most skilled of filmmakers are able to do, and to do it effectively.
Yeah. If that's your number 2, oh my God, what's your number 1? Because that's gonna be crazy. But let's not dwell on that one too long. We're gonna rewatch that, and I kind of want to do a podcast over that. Like,
oh, dude, I'd be so down.
We got to do that.
I got so much to say about First Man.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so my number 2, and I'm kind of going back and forth between it. Part of me wants to just do a top 5 at this point, but my number 2 is. I'm gonna have to go with Moneyball.
Okay, there we go.
And the only reason I'll say that is because if we're gonna go and rank these, and this is based off of favorite, I was going back. My number 1 isn't between these two, but I was going back and forth between Moneyball and Munich. Munich is one of the again the same thing as The Post. What Spielberg does with that movie is insane. Munich is insane.
Oh, it's bro, I feel like Munich should go in with a if you are pregnant under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or if you have a heart condition, don't go and watch it, man. That's just too intense. Like, that scene in the apartment with the I don't even want to talk about it because the spoilers have been out forever. One scene, man, you know what I'm talking about. That shit fucked me up in the theater.
I respect you for not letting the spoilers out, because it is kind of like the deaths and the stuff that goes on in this film is like shocking. Like, holy fucking shit. And the way it ends, like the way it ends is just like, because it's the same essence of First Man. It's like choosing not to portray them as heroes and realizing what these missions do to people. But yeah, that's Munich. I'd love to do a podcast on that too.
I mean, dude,
I showed you Munich in the theater, right?
Yeah, Munich, The Post, Lincoln, and I think that we did one more Spielberg movie. Oh, Bridge of Spies.
And
Did I also say The Post?
Yeah. And Catch Me If You Can. He had like a good 20-year run now.
Oh yeah, dude, Catch Me If You Can. I remember I had to watch that for school one time, and that was another. It's ridiculous how much tension that Spielberg puts in all of his biopics. It's just, he does such a good job at creating characters, and you want to see them succeed, but having palpable tension that it makes your heart fucking beat out of its chest.
And the crazy part is, I think that he's having his cathartic movie this year, because he's making another biopic this year.
Isn't this one about himself?
This one's about himself.
Yeah. It's about as cathartic as you can get, man.
And it's so crazy. I know I got to get back to Moneyball, but what's so crazy about that is, like, Spielberg explicitly chose to remove any reference to himself out of the movie Ready Player One, because Ready Player One, the book, is filled with Spielberg references, like tiptoe, like down to the T. It's his imprint on that book is all over, but he chose to leave himself out of it. So now he's coming back. What is it, 5 years later, making a movie about himself, and I'm interested. But Moneyball. The reason I choose this over Munich, and I think that Munich is a better movie than Moneyball, but for me, I just love this fucking movie. It's my favorite sports film, and it's one of my favorite biopics, and it's just one of my favorite films ever. If I had to put in my top 5 most rewatched films of my entire life, it'd probably go Dark Knight, Moneyball, Social Network, in that order. I do not think there's like a good chunk of my life in like 2013 where I just rewatched those 3 movies on, get this, I'm old, DVR. I watched them on DVR. They were recorded with commercials and everything, and I just rewatched all 3 of those movies. I would finish Dark Knight, go watch Moneyball. Finish Moneyball, go watch Social Network. Finish Social Network, rewatch Dark Knight. And what I love about this film, before we get to the number one, is just simply the first time you've ever seen a sports movie be taken this seriously. To have, like, there's sports movies that have great acting, but this one had top-notch acting. I mean, Spike Jonze, Robin Wright, Chris Pratt, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill. I know there's someone else I'm missing. I think Bruce. No, I don't think he's in this one. But just those five alone is insane. Bennett Miller has been in hibernation the last 10 years, I guess. His last film was Foxcatcher, but Bennett Miller was on a run with 3 straight movies. Like, he had Philip Seymour Hoffman and Capote, and then he had Moneyball, and then he had Foxcatcher, and all 3 were fantastic, very serious, very dark, very moody films, but that it just like were transcendent with the type of acting that he was able to get. Like, he turned Steve Carell from Michael Scott to John DuPont. And then he turned Jonah Hill from the fat funny guy from Superbad to an Oscar nominated seriously like actor, and revived Brad Pitt's career to make people realize that Brad Pitt is fantastic. Sadly, that's one of Wally Pfister's last films. Wally Pfister's a DP that's worked with Christopher Nolan on most of his early films. But it's a fantastically shot film. It may not look pretty to the eye, but it's like, it works so well with the lens choices and the lighting that he uses. That's like, anywhere in the ball club is so dull, it's so bland, because the Oakland A's are just a dull and bland organization. And when they're winning, it's popping and everything's exciting. The movie is running, it's fast paced, it's going. The music is fantastic. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that score by Michael Dana. It is absolutely insane, that score. And that score is actually used quite a bit in a lot of movies now, as little spec pieces. But that's my point on Moneyball. I'll rewatch it anytime. It's absolutely fantastic. I still get goosebumps. So
yeah, dude. Whenever I first watched Moneyball, that was actually over COVID quarantine. Whenever I was binge watching as many movies as I could, I was doing an entire binge of just all Brad Pitt movies.
Yeah,
and that's how I ended up discovering Moneyball. Because I mean, like with sports movies, it's always been hit or miss with me, which is why I don't watch too many. And
neither do I, because it's always the same.
Exactly. And with Moneyball, I didn't really know what to expect. All I knew was, oh, it's a sport movie. I don't really know, how much I can invest myself into it. But whenever I watched it, it blew me away. Because it's a sport movie done right. Whenever a sport movie is good, it is great. Yeah. And that's one of them. I think that Brad Pitt, he gives one of his top performances.
Yeah. That is the sports movie. Like, I don't think it gets better than that. And I don't think it has gotten better than that.
I mean, we got Like Mike. Thunderstruck.
I love that movie though. Like Mike, I grew up on that shit. But
I grew up on Thunderstruck.
Jesus, don't say that out loud. You're too young. Jesus. All right, you're number one.
Come out? Shit. Oh, 2012. Jesus.
Yeah, you're number one, sir.
My number one. Well, I always got to go back to my father. So for number one, Martin Scorsese, Raging Bull.
Okay.
Number one, Raging Bull, man. I watched Raging Bull. I watched it like 2 or 3 times. I'll be coming up on my 4th after I finish up my yearly Martin Scorsese binge. But I remember watching it in the theaters whenever I still worked at a certain location as a movie theater employee. Watching it on the silver screen, man. I think that might be my favorite Robert De Niro performance. I also think that, I don't know, for Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci's this sort of relationship in their dynamic duo. I mean, you have Casino, you have Raging Bull, and you have Irishman. I know I'm leaving out Goodfellas, but Goodfellas, it was more Ray Liotta, how he interacted with both parties rather than Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. So I'm being kind of an asshole about it. But with those three, I think that Raging Bull is definitely my favorite relationship with Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, just because it's so raw. It's a brotherly bond between the two of them. And so I think that there's sort of there's this rawness that you see within both of their performances as brothers, and sort of the lines that they cross, mainly due to Robert De Niro's the person that he's portraying. I forget the name of the boxer. I'm looking it up right now.
Jake LaMotta, I think.
Jake LaMotta.
Yeah.
Jake LaMotta. Yeah. And yeah, so Jake LaMotta is sort of, his own personal troubles that he struggled with, mainly with his emotions. It's something that it's sad to see. It's a downward spiral of a man who had potential for greatness. He reached it in some aspects, but also he allowed his legacy to be extremely damaged by, the own vices that he let his life be controlled by. And I think that is, about as great of Scorsese movies you can. But also with Raging Bull, he was coming right off of New York, which was the film that followed Taxi Driver. That was also the film that ruined or nearly ruined Scorsese's career because of how poorly received it was. It sent him over the edge with cocaine, and he found himself in the hospital with an overdose as every single one of his internal organs was internally bleeding. So after spending months in weeks in a hospital bed, um, Robert De Niro, he comes to visit Scorsese. I think he either gives them the book on Jake LaMotta's life or the actual screenplay for Raging Bull. And he says, pretty much, that Scorsese's got to, get back up on his feet. This is the movie to do it. It's another sport movie with boxing. Boxing's different, man. Any boxing movie I've always loved. I got to get a deep pleasure for boxing movies. But with this, it was sort of, I think that there's a personal connection that Scorsese had because he was in a downward spiral with his own career, and he translated that towards Jake LaMotta's life as someone who ruined his own career by the same vices and insecurities that he had. And it was cathartic for Scorsese as it was for, Jake LaMotta within the film, is to not let yourself be controlled by your own personal limitations to achieve for something better. And that was something that rang true for me. It has one of the greatest scores of all time. There is countless things I could say good about this film. I love it, tried and true.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. It didn't hit me, but I was so young, and I've been waiting to do a Scorsese binge to be able to truly appreciate it. But if there's anything I know about it, is that it's, for our favorite directors today, it's easily one of the most influential films on all of them today. I mean, Whiplash is Raging Bull. What's his called? Damien Chazelle said that he had that movie on repeat while he was editing it, just nonstop to kind of help him edit. So yeah, great pick. Raging Bull. I didn't expect that. I don't know why I didn't expect a Scorsese.
But always been on Scorsese with Jacob.
I'm going to end with my number one on a director that is kind of super inspirational for me and a little on the newer side, but I'm going to end on a sadder note, with my number one being Fruitvale Station. The reason I choose that one as my number one is, again, I think that one was, that was the movie that was the tipping point of, for me, what filmmaking is and should be. No matter what. And what Ryan Coogler did was, it was insane. It was just, to take such a recent tragedy. It was only 3 years ago, not 3 years ago from now, but when the movie came out in 2000,
whenever it came out,
the movie, it came out in 2013. I think they filmed it in 2012. The death of Oscar Grant happened in 2009. To take something so recently and to take it in such care and emotion and just beauty, and to portray it on film in not a way that's divisive or in not a way that's going to cause a discussion that is anything other than the person's life at hand is an amazing thing to do. He chose not to focus on the political aspect of this and chose to focus on the memory and the life of this person. And I think that was super important to do, because obviously police brutality is something that's huge in this country and in this world, and it, you know, to all races, but mainly to African Americans such as myself. And I think it's super important with everything going on with Black Lives Matter, with everything going on in the world. It's, you know, this movie predates George Floyd and it predates 2020, and everything. I think that I think if you show this film to anyone, you can't, no one will be able to walk away from this film having an opinion other
Untouched. Yeah.
having an opinion other than this young man was taken too soon, that he was getting his life on track. It doesn't matter if he was selling weed, it doesn't matter if he was arrested before, or he has his own, everyone has their own problems. It's the same thing we just said about First Man. This is a man that was taken from us. Like, everyone is human. And Ryan, again, the same thing that Damon Chazelle did. It's like he's choosing not to put him up on a pedestal, but rather than to shine a light. And this specific light just happened to so be about a young man who was taken too soon. And it's a beautiful film. Shot on 16 millimeter with Rachel Morrison, and what he does with that film, just the cinematography is fantastic. He kind of, you know, leaves Oscar Grant. There's this like some symbolic moment whenever the dog dies and he's got the white shirt on, and the blood that the dog leaves is the blood that is left in the same spot of where he gets killed. And the foreshadowing that he does, there's a lot of great directing moments, but I think that for the first time feature and writer director, he just absolutely chose the right path, which is to only focus on this young man and his life and his family. And that was beautiful. One of my, the scene that, you know, most people would probably tear up at the death, which I do as well, but I tear up at the moment before they go to the train station. They're having gumbo in the house and the family's having a good time. I tear up whenever the doctor comes in and tells them his life was taken. It's that all of those moments, from the moment he got shot to the moment that the final shot of Tatiana and I forget his girlfriend's name, but Tatiana is his daughter, and they're sitting in the shower, is just.
I mean, there's so many great moments within the movie. I mean, it's with the cinematography. I think that Ryan Coogler, he did an excellent job with how he shot it to where it almost felt like a documentary. If I remember correctly, I believe majority, if not all of it, was on handheld.
Yeah.
And you know, whenever you're following it around, you're taking this, you know, true account of events, but you do it in a day in the life style, to where you get to learn about, you know, who this, you know, human being is as a person, um, and to realize, you know, he's a well-meaning dude who's just, like you said, he's trying to get back, get his life back on track. He wants to be able to provide for his family, and he wants to be a better person. Just for it to take the dark twist that it did, towards the end of the film with, you know, the climax. Um, but you give a lot of hope for, and you give a lot of things for people to reach out and connect to. Like you said, whenever they're having gumbo, um, it's been, I think, like 2 or 3 years since I've seen it, last seen it. So I'm trying to, you know, remember all the moments. But I know the gumbo, and also the moment after he got shot, whenever his entire family and friends are in the hospital waiting for him, and you see sort of the hope that they have as they try to rationalize the situation, and you know, you just see that all they want to do is get him back in their life.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose him, and it hammers it in, man. It's to, you know, to highlight the family and friends aspect of it, to say, hey, this is, you know, this is a human being. I think that it's a direct counter argument to what a lot of people try to do, you know, in these larger situations about police brutality, is to dehumanize the victim, in a way that, you know, makes it justifiable that they died.
Yeah.
Like with George Floyd, I hear, you know, people, they talk about how he robbed or punched a pregnant woman, and just tried to find any valid excuse that they can to say that this man was allowed to die.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't, you don't know the dude. You know what you read off of, specific news stations, and that's not fair. That's not, a justifiable excuse that the cops took an appropriate reaction to it. Whenever you talk about Fruitvale Station, it's hard to not get into political aspects, obviously, and to be able to show proper restraint. But it's something that's sad to see, because at the end of the day, these are people, these are Americans, these are human beings who want to be able to live their own life, and you see the tragedy that cuts their life short, and it's always terrible to hear, but it's even more terrible to see, as necessary as it is, with this film. I think that is one of the most necessary and most prevalent films that you can do, that you could do, and I'm glad that Ryan Coogler told it in the way that he did, because it was effective. I don't think that there's anybody in the theater, like you said, that could watch it and leave without having that mindset that they just watched a decent man have his life taken from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, I try to show it to a lot of people. I know I showed it to you in theaters. It was just me and you in the theater. So I had to try to put on my big boy pants and not tear up. But I try to show
hard. It's hard, man. I was tearing up whenever I was watching it. That as of right now, that is Michael B. Jordan's greatest performance.
Yeah. Although Black Panther Killmonger is a nice little run. But no, yeah, I think so too. I think that's his best performance. Either that, Creed, or anything Ryan Coogler has directed.
Anything that he does, man. I think that Michael B. Jordan, he's still early in his career, but he's got that movie star potential, man. I mean, if I see his name, I'm watching whatever film he's in.
But with that, we'll take a quick break and get back to it and talk about what we've been watching. So that's our top three. To run it back again, I had number 3 was The Post, number 2 was Moneyball, number 1 was Fruitvale Station. For Jacob, he had I forgot yours. What's yours? Number 3?
My third was Zodiac. My second was
First Man, and then
First Man, Jesus, and then Raging Bull.
Yeah. And so think on that, and we'll come back to it. All right, we're back. So after that little teared up, I had to go clear off, go make sure I'm good. Fruitvale Station, great film. So Biopics, again, Elvis comes out this weekend. Please go support in theaters. It'll be playing at your local theater all over the world. Go support it. Any movies to be seen in theaters, go check it out. And with that, as always, we try to support as much movie watching as possible. So Jacob, what you been watching lately?
Oh man, I've been watching a couple of things. I've been continuing my Scorsese binge. So I've watched Boxcar Bertha, Mean Streets. Yeah, I'm gonna try to watch Alice Doesn't Live Here today. But other than that, I've also watched Fargo, and I've seen Pineapple Express. I didn't log it yet, but this is the end I've seen. And then the last one that I've watched is Jackie Brown.
Jeez. That's a hell of a list.
Oh yeah, man.
I know me and you were texting about it one day, but yeah, those outrageous comedies. Oh, I don't know what anybody else thinks about them. They could be not PC enough for today or whatever, but they are timeless. Like, I grew up on those films. They're still funny.
You see Danny McBride, Seth Rogen, James Franco all in the same movie. You know that shit's about to be the funniest thing you've ever seen.
I was listening to a podcast on it last week, but I meant to ask you, have you seen Knocked Up?
Knocked Up? Shit. I think
Judd Apatow with Seth Rogen. You don't know what do you know what Knocked Up is?
I know what it is. God, no, I don't think I've seen Knocked Up.
Okay.
No. Okay. I was thinking of
I'm gonna do you. Okay. Okay. So Hayden said he hasn't seen it.
I was thinking of 50-50. Sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah, Hayden says he hasn't seen it. I think I showed it to Sam. but I'm gonna try to get a watch party. That's a fucking hilarious movie. That was like the start of all those guys' career. Like,
Jesus.
you're gonna see everyone in that movie. So yeah, Knocked Up. Don't watch it yet. I'm gonna show it to you guys. That shit is so funny.
I got you.
I've been doing a little bit of the same. So to kind of like combat you while you watch Scorsese, and hopefully can share those Blu-rays with me. I've been trying to do my own director's binge, but this one I'm going a little bit more hardcore with, so it's taking me some time. But I'm doing a director's binge of Wes Anderson right now. I've only watched 2 of his films, Rushmore and Bottle Rocket, but kind of what I'm doing, because all of his movies are on Criterion, I'm watching every single goddamn special feature, and then I'm watching the commentary as well. So I watched the movie, watched the special features, then I watched the commentary, and then if I really love the film, I'll read a little bit of the script to kind of like figure it out and see where he made some decisions and just see kind of how he formats and tells the story through the script format. I read most of the Bottle Rocket script. I haven't read much of the Rushmore script, but hopefully I can get that done. But I also have a book about Wes Anderson as well. Oh my
God, that massive mammoth of a book.
So I've been reading this as well. My thoughts on Wes Anderson. I think I've binged his movies twice now. The first time was a long time ago. I wasn't appreciative. The second time I did it, very appreciative. This was over COVID. Now I'm doing it again because I feel like I wasn't appreciative enough of The French Dispatch, and I want to rewatch that film. But in order for me to rewatch it, I feel like I need to appreciate and figure out Wes Anderson again. And I know that sounds like a lot to be like, damn, you have to rewatch this guy 3 times to figure out if you like him or not. It's not really that. It's really the fact that Wes Anderson is probably the most, I think whenever his career is over and it's all said and done for our generation, he'll probably go down as one of the most influential directors of all time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that he is one of the most detailed directors of all time. I mean, like
there's so much to learn. There's something going on in his backgrounds at all time, and that's something that I've learned on this watch. The script is so heavily structured. Obviously the cinematography and the score and everything is like, it's top notch. Like you've never seen. It's a distinct style, but it's also how it's insane, because if you really like dive deep into his filmography, he's just like every other director in that he's learned so much from Scorsese, Spielberg, Jean-Luc Godard, Hitchcock, go down the line of all these famous great directors.
Bergman is another massive one.
Yeah, Bergman, like it's insane. And it's like you watch his movies and it's like he's being original, but at the same time he's not being original.
Every director, man.
But
original, not original people of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Damien Chazelle put it best. He's like original nowadays is probably the worst statement you could ever tell a creative person. No one's original. When he said whenever you steal something from another creator, you steal it. You don't give it back. You steal it, but you make it your own. You steal it, you don't copy it, you steal it and you make it your own. And it's like that's exactly what Wes does. That's exactly what Wes does. That's what a lot of people do. So that's what I've been doing, watching some Wes Anderson, but also watching some new movies. I watched Lightyear. We were going to do a podcast on it, but it's Lightyear. Not to like shit on the movie. I actually really enjoyed it, but just wasn't much that we thought we could talk about after. Watch Spiderhead on Netflix. Joseph Kosinski riding the high of Top Gun Maverick. He comes into Spiderhead, and interested to hear what other people have to say about it. I've been trying to read a lot more critiques.
That came out this year. Yeah. Oh wait, Spiderhead. Yeah. It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
I'll watch that tonight. I forgot.
Very interested
about that.
I still need to watch Only the Brave from Joseph Kosinski, but there's anything I know about this guy is that he damn sure knows how to set up a camera, and his movies do not look ugly. They look fantastic. So great movie. And then finally, I watched this movie twice in the same weekend. Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Wait, hold on. Before you move on real quick, just hanging on to Spiderhead for just 1 second. Isn't Chris Hemsworth? He's a scientist in this, right?
Yeah, pharmaceutical. Yeah.
That is the oddest choice for Chris Hemsworth. I want to see how that goes.
Yeah, him and Miles Teller. I'm interested to see what you have to say about that.
I'm very interested.
I enjoyed it. I think that for my own tastes, it's not bold enough, I guess I would say. I think it holds back a lot for this type of story. It's based off of a short story that's published in the New Yorker. So you can read it beforehand if you want. But it's not bold enough is all I'll say. I'm interested. I have to read the story to see what I would possibly have done, or maybe if there's nothing I could have done.
Joseph Kosinski, he loves Miles Teller, man.
Yeah, that's his guy. 3 straight movies. And then finally, after Spiderhead, I watched Cha Cha Real Smooth twice. That's probably going to go down in my top 10 of the year. Probably at the tail end of my top 10. But I probably would be watching this movie quite often this year and showing it to a lot of people.
Cha Cha Real Smooth. This got Dakota Johnson in it.
Yeah. It's just a good story is all I'll say. It's such
Is it another day in the life following Shithouse? No.
Shithouse isn't really a day in the life. But Cha Cha Real Smooth. This is like Jesus. It's funny. It's funnier than Shithouse. It's more emotional, and it's more relatable. Shithouse is very relatable, especially for our generation. But this one is just like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. As a director, I think that he's still learning. As a writer, I think he's one of the best writers, will be one of the best writers of our generation. And as an actor, he's fantastic. I think as a director, he's still learning, and he's only getting better. Like if you watch Shithouse and you're gonna watch this, and you're gonna be like, wow, you can see someone grow up.
I just need to do a double feature of Shithouse and Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah, so, fantastic.
I'm interested, man. I mean, Cooper Raiff, he is already with that second feature. I think that he is sort of on the what's it called? I'm not going to say he's in the mainstream, but he's in the know with a lot of the film community. Yeah. I mean, it's really put him on the map. He's won
awards at South by for both of his movies. I think he won the audience award at with Shithouse, but that was during the COVID year 2020, and then now this one comes out and he does it again, and it's like he really does make a good crowd pleaser. Like I would love to have watched it in theaters, but it's playing pretty far away and gas is not cheap. But it is in theaters, so if you say you're going to go check it out in theaters, I'll gladly join you. But it is on Apple TV Plus, so check it out if you can.
There's so many movies I need to watch in theaters right now because I still need to watch Watcher. I need to watch Crimes of the Future. I need to watch Shithouse, and I don't think I'm caught up. But
there's a lot coming out.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I might. This is my off day today. I might spend it catching up on all my releases.
Yeah, go for it. But with that, we'll go ahead and end it. This has been a fun podcast about biopics. Again, go check out Elvis. Go check out Cha Cha Real Smooth. Go check out Spiderhead. Go check out The Black Phone also comes out this week. Or that's
dude, I'm excited for that. Is
that the name of the Black Phone or Black?
It's the Black Phone.
Black Phone. Ethan Hawke is back in theaters, so go check that out. I've heard great things.
Still at a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it. This has been a fun one, but we'll catch you guys on the next one. See you
on the flippity flip.